In the heart of the dense and chilling woods, a group of 4 friends, Sarah, Mike, David, and Emily, set up their campsite, seeking adventure and tranquility. They were avid outdoors enthusiasts, lured by the whispers of nature's secrets and the adrenaline of the wild. Little did they know that their escapade would soon turn into a terrifying struggle for survival. As darkness blanketed the forest, they gathered around the crackling campfire, exchanging stories and laughter to dispel the eerie ambiance. The woods seemed to breathe, its ancient trees carrying tales of forgotten horrors. Sarah was the first to notice the strange change in atmosphere. The wind howled mournfully, echoing through the trees, and a sudden drop in temperature sent shivers down their spines. Unease settled over the group, but they attributed it to the unpredictability of nature. Hours passed, and as the moon reached its zenith, a haunting voice broke the silence. "Help, please, help me," it whispered, mimicking the voice of their lost friend, Peter. The group froze, their faces drained of color. "It's Peter," Emily exclaimed, her eyes wide with both relief and disbelief. "Peter, is that you?" Mike called out, his voice quivering with hope. The voice replied, "Yes, it's me. I'm lost. Help me." Despite the unease in the air, desperation overpowered their fear. They grabbed flashlights and headed into the woods, following the voice that seemed to beckon them deeper into the shadows. Soon they stumbled upon a figure, hunched and emaciated, resembling Peter. His face was obscured by the shadows, concealing a sinister grin. Sarah's instincts screamed danger, but her heart yearned for it to be Peter. The creature, feigning weakness, beckoned them closer. Sarah's flashlight flickered, revealing hollow eyes and elongated limbs. A cold realization swept through her. This was no longer their friend, but something malevolent, something ancient. A Wendigo. In that horrific moment, the creature lunged, revealing its true form. A gaunt, monstrous being with sharpened antlers, its mouth lined with jagged, blood-stained teeth. Panic ensued as the Wendigo pounced on David, tearing him apart with unnatural strength. Terror engulfed the group as they scattered, the creature chasing them relentlessly through the darkness. Sarah's breaths came in ragged gasps as she stumbled upon a hidden ravine. In a desperate attempt to escape, she climbed down, finding a small crevice to hide in. From her hiding spot, she watched the Wendigo lose interest and retreat into the woods. Her heart ached for her friends, but survival was now her priority. Days passed, and she finally emerged from her refuge, the forest forever etched into her soul. The Wendigo's chilling cries still echoed in the distance, a haunting reminder of that fateful night. A night when the line between reality and nightmare blurred, leaving scars that would never heal. High atop a desolate mountain, isolated from civilization, lived an old man named Ezekiel. He was confined to a wheelchair, bound by both time and aching bones. His cabin, weathered and worn, stood as a stoic sentinel against the harsh elements of the unforgiving wilderness. One moonless night, the wind howled like a mournful specter, carrying a whisper of terror. Ezekiel sat by the crackling fireplace, sipping his tea and reading his favorite novel, attempting to escape the eerie silence that enveloped his world. But the stillness was shattered by an unsettling noise. Strange, guttural growls and desperate shrieks pierced the air. Fear gripped Ezekiel's heart as he wheeled himself to the window, peering into the darkness. Through the inky abyss, he saw the flicker of a distant fading lantern and heard the crunching of leaves, as if something monstrous approached. Unable to turn away from the unfolding horror, Ezekiel witnessed a nightmarish scene. His neighbors, the Smithsons, were being attacked by a creature, a Wendigo. The creature was a grotesque fusion of bone and sinew, its eyes glowing with an insatiable hunger. It lunged at the Smithsons, its claws tearing through flesh as the family fought valiantly to defend themselves. Their cries for help echoed through the mountains, a chilling symphony of despair. Ezekiel's heart sank, a mixture of dread and helplessness coursing through his veins. In a frantic effort to aid them, Ezekiel wheeled himself towards his telephone, fingers trembling as he dialed the emergency number. The operator, flooded with panic and horror, assured him that help was on the way. But deep down, Ezekiel knew it might be too late. As he gazed out the window once more, the Wendigo had vanished, leaving behind a macabre tableau of blood-soaked snow and torn flesh. The Smithsons were gone, their once vibrant lives extinguished in a cruel twist of fate. Days turned into weeks, and the mountain remained haunted by the Wendigo's malevolent presence. Ezekiel couldn't escape the guilt that gnawed at his conscience. He believed he could have done more to save the Smithsons. He resolved to warn others about the horrors that lurked in the mountains, to prevent more lives from falling prey to the Wendigo's insatiable hunger. And so, Ezekiel became a hermit of the mountains, etching warnings and pleas for vigilance into trees and rocks, hoping to protect future generations from the dark secret that haunted his nights and scarred his soul, the night he witnessed the Wendigo's merciless savagery. Deep in the heartland, on a remote ranch nestled between rolling hills, lived a father, John, and his son, Tommy. Their ranch was a peaceful haven, a slice of heaven, until an insidious evil descended upon their land. Their once thriving livestock began to perish mysteriously. The cattle were found mutilated, their bodies drained of life, fear etched in their eyes. John and Tommy, devastated and desperate for answers, resolved to uncover the truth and save their ranch. One eerie evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the duo set out to investigate the chilling occurrences plaguing their homestead. Armed with rifles and lanterns, they ventured into the darkening woods, guided by the haunting glow of a blood-red moon. Crackling twigs and rustling leaves signaled an unnatural presence in the forest. The air grew thick with an otherworldly silence, as if nature itself held its breath, wary of what lurked within its depths. Suddenly, a majestic deer emerged from the shadows, its eyes reflecting an unnatural, malevolent gleam. Unnerved but unaware of the true danger, John and Tommy lowered their rifles, drawn to the deer's beauty. The creature was enchanting, its movements graceful, and they hesitated to consider it a threat. As they approached cautiously, the deer's appearance seemed to distort, its once beautiful form twisted and contorted, revealing a monstrous, skeletal creature with hollow eyes, towering antlers, and gnarled limbs. The Wendigo. Realization struck them, but it was too late. The Wendigo lunged, its claws slashing through the air. The battle for their lives had begun. John and Tommy fought fiercely, bullets and makeshift weapons clashing against the Wendigo's ferocity. Their ranch became a battleground, a testament to their will to survive. Adrenaline surged through them, but the Wendigo's dark magic was potent, making it a formidable adversary. Cornered and wounded, they found themselves outnumbered, struggling to keep the Wendigo at bay. As hope dwindled, they hatched a desperate plan. John set fire to the barn, using the distraction to lead the creature into the inferno. The Wendigo pursued, consumed by its insatiable bloodlust. In the fiery chaos, surrounded by the roar of flames and the desperate cries of the Wendigo, they realized the cost of their victory. Their home was in ruins, the land forever scarred by the encounter. Yet they had saved their lives and vanquished the evil that threatened their existence. With heavy hearts, they watched as the night swallowed the remains of their ranch. They had faced the Wendigo and survived, forever changed by the horrors they had witnessed on their once idyllic homestead. As as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows across the dense forest. Park Ranger Alan Walker prepared for another night on duty. The whispers of the trees seemed to echo the fears buried deep within his soul, fears he was reluctant to confront. Lately, his nights were tormented by gruesome nightmares, visions of him transforming into a Wendigo. In his dreams, he would wander the forest, feeling an insatiable hunger gnawing at his insides. He would awaken with a cold sweat, haunted by the vivid images of his body contorting into a monstrous creature, antlers sprouting from his skull, and insatiable bloodlust in his eyes. Each passing day, the line between reality and the horrors of his dreams blurred. He began to notice subtle changes in his appearance. His fingernails grew sharper, resembling claws. His senses heightened, picking up scents and sounds previously imperceptible to him. He attributed these changes to fatigue and stress, hoping they would dissipate with time. One moonlit night, as he patrolled the forest, he heard a distant cry, an unnerving, haunting sound. Following the echoes, he stumbled upon a gruesome scene. A group of campers, their faces etched in terror, lay mangled and lifeless. Fear gripped his heart as he noticed the ghastly tracks surrounding the bodies, tracks unmistakably belonging to a Wendigo. Dread consumed him. The nightmares and his physical changes were too real to ignore. He rushed back to his cabin, locking himself in, desperately trying to comprehend the darkness that seemed to be taking over. Days turned into nights, and Alan's reflection in the mirror horrified him. His eyes had taken on a predatory glint, his skin pale and veined. The antlers he had seen in his nightmares were beginning to protrude from his forehead, and the gnawing hunger in his gut was becoming harder to ignore. Haunted by the realization that his nightmares might be a terrifying prophecy, Alan knew he had to act. He researched ancient lore, seeking a way to break the curse that seemed to bind him. His only hope lay in the legends of a hermit who had once encountered the Wendigo and survived. Deep in the heart of the forest, Alan faced the hermit. The old man spoke of a sacrificial ritual, a way to appease the vengeful spirits and free Alan from the Wendigo's curse. The ritual was brutal and unforgiving, but Alan had no choice. As the moon hung low in the sky, the ritual commenced. Alan recited the incantations, feeling the weight of the curse lift from his soul. His body contorted, racked with pain and fear, but he endured. When it was over, Alan stood weak but human, the forest around him silent, as if acknowledging his sacrifice. The nightmares ceased, and Alan was forever scarred by the horrors he had faced. He knew he had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. The forest had claimed many victims, and he vowed to protect others from the curse that lurked within its shadows. But the memories of that dark time haunted him, a chilling reminder of the fragility of the human spirit in the face of ancient malevolence.